Yeah, blackjack. Life is like a game of cards. It's not what you dealt, but how you play it. Yeah, blackjack. To play each situation correctly. I remember they used to laugh at a brother.
Welcome back, guys. Your boy DELRAY Richardson, platinum artist, platinum songwriter, Straight Game TV. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate your time. Do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button. But right now, I got a very special guest, none other than the brother who's wrote many hits, one of the most infamous ghostwriters in hip hop. Like I said, platinum songwriter, platinum artist. You see the plaques on the wall right behind him. You know, I'm gonna let him go ahead and introduce himself. Brother, go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell the people who you are.
What's up, everybody out there? This is J Flexx, you know what I'm saying? Straight out the Gym City, Dayton, Ohio. Been in LA for about 30 years now, so LA is my adopted home, but honor and a pleasure to be on your platform. Young DELRAY, me and DELRAY go back probably 25 years now, Dale.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. My man. Hey, so Flexx, all of the work that you put in and some of the songs, I'm just gonna shout it out. Writing for Dr. Dre, California Love, Natural Born Killers, Keep Their Heads Ringing. You know what I mean? You pinned all of them joints. Your pen game is mean, and I just want to first start it off by telling you that. But yo, you from Dayton, Ohio. You call it the land of the funk. Musically, what was it like growing up for you? Some of your influences.
Well, I call it Land of the Funk because maybe 6 to 8 of the top funk bands in the world came out of Dayton, Ohio. So I just got to name them off. You got Heat Wave, you got Slave, you got Roger and Zapp, you got Lakeside that just did a free concert in Dayton. It was like 100,000 people there. You know what I mean? You got Ohio Players, of course. Sun. I could keep going, bro. But it's just all of those funk bands, that was the vibe of our city. That's why so many dope funk bands came out of there, man, because that was Dayton in the mid to late 70s was it, bro. I mean, you had 10, 15 GM plants. Everybody got jobs. You know what I mean? Everybody, and it's niggas, and they got money. You know what I mean? And so that was the vibe of the music, like feel good, man. So I think that's where the sound came from, and so that's why I think I fit in on the West Coast so good, because that's the music I came up on.
Okay. Yeah, that's awesome, man. And like, so yo, you coming to California adopting you, you coming in. Explain to me, when you came to California, you came for what, like a vacation or something like that when you met Dr. Dre?
We was out here to shop our demo. We was actually out here to meet Dick Griffey.
Okay.
Our records back in the day. You remember them?
Yes, sir.
We were out here to meet him and bumped into Dre at the stoplight, man. And we had our tape ready. So that's why I don't know if Oprah or somebody said that, but it's luck mixed with preparation. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
So we was lucky that he pulled up on us, but we was ready with our tape. You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So if that's advice to people out there trying to get it, man, like, you got to be prepared, because the luck is gonna strike you sooner or later. You just got to be ready when it hit. Don't be caught slipping without your demo or whatever you do. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. So when you ran up on Dre, I heard he was in what is it, a white Ferrari, Lamborghini, or something like that.
Sorry, bro. And Ferrari. It's funny. My buddy Gene, he was my manager at the time, and he was telling me, man, we gonna have to move out here. We ain't gonna be able to make nothing happen in 2 weeks. And so I didn't want to move out here because I knew how expensive it was. And I was like, man, we're gonna either starve or have to sell dope, get back in the not trying to do that, So it was like I was trying to change the subject. I just looked around and saw a Ferrari, like, look at this Ferrari right here. He like, yeah, whatever, nigga, man. He pull up, it's Dre in the Ferrari, you know. So I tell that story all the time that I could never have animosity towards Dre because, you know, he didn't have to stop. He pulled over and took our tape, man. You know what I mean? So regardless of whatever business dealings happened or whatever issues I got with him, it'll never be animosity because he opened that door to me to get in the game. You know what I mean? So
Absolutely.
yes, sir.
Yeah. Hey, so the Super Bowl,
Yes, sir.
the Super Bowl, California Love. Like, yo, I thought about you, right?
Yeah.
I talked to Stocks, right? And we was talking about that. You know, he was telling me some things, you know, some things you were trying to do and things like that. So, yo, how did you feel about that? You know, it being this many years later, yo, hearing that verse, man, that oh so famous verse that you penned for Dr. Dre. That is a legendary verse. The song is legendary, as you seen, you know, how people reacted when you know when he started to do it. Yo, how did you feel about that at that moment when you seen that, you know, at that particular time during the Super Bowl?
The real moment. You know what I mean? Because the thing about it is, it was surreal. It was like, and inside I was like, man, you did that. You know what I mean? Like, so it was like, man, you a part of that. That's gonna always be with you. So that was comforting, man. You know, but at the same time, it's like, not that I felt like I should be up there with him, but I felt like I should have benefited more from that that moment. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm like, if anybody else that's a part of a song that's played on the Super Bowl, they sitting pretty. You know what
Right.
I mean? Like they either there or they sitting pretty in their mansion watching that shit. Like, hey, that's our song. You know what I mean? Whereas I'm just kicking it on the couch and my shit come on. Like, and then my wife and everybody like, oh, you know, they going off. Everybody on Facebook going off, but it's not like it's not like the success that that should come with it. You know what I mean? But emotionally, it felt that way. Emotionally, I felt like I accomplished something. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
it was definitely it's definitely a moment that I'll remember the rest of my life. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Absolutely. And so when you say that, right? So the question, and if you feel like elaborating on this, so you didn't get no money from that? No publishing, no nothing?
From the Super Bowl.
No, I'm saying from like California Love and the whole thing. Like,
So California Love was, I mean, I can't say I paid nothing
right,
because
right, right.
Trey gave me a little ghostwriting fee when I first wrote it.
Okay, okay.
It was a thing where we was working already. We was working on his album. So California Love was just another joint on his album. He had 3 verses on there. You know what I mean?
Right.
They just took them off, and when Pac put the star appeal on that motherfucker, and it was a wrap.
It was a
You
wrap.
know, so yeah, I got the acknowledgement, like, yeah, that, you know, Flexx did that, but as far as, you know, how many samples is in that song. So once it became a hit, here come everybody. You know what I mean? So Joe Cocker had to get his. Motherfucking West Coast Pop Lock had to get theirs. Roger and them had to get theirs. You know what I mean? It was like 4 samples in that joint. You know,
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. And the samples definitely eat up a record, and you got to clear all of that. So,
everybody wanted all. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And so after they all come in,
Right.
then it's my turn. You know what I mean? So it's like, did I get what I should have got? No. But the thing about it is I put that it put that it put my rep in the game. So I mean, it's other ghostwriters that wrote for Dre. You know, I mean, some of the greats, motherfucking Jay-Z, the DLC, Snoop Dogg, RBX. You know what I mean? Q. You know
Right.
what I mean? But I feel like I wrote him his biggest hits because I feel like uh I'm the one. I feel like when Dre rap my rhymes, I feel like he sound like Dre. You know what I mean? Like, because when I used to rap, people be like, "Hey man, you sound like Dre." Nah, Dre sound like me. You feel me? But it's all good because y'all don't know who I am. Like
Right.
when you hear "Forgot About Dre," you know that Eminem wrote that. You know what I mean? When you hear still DR, you know Jay-Z wrote that. You can hear it. You see what I'm
Right.
saying? The ones Hitman wrote, you can hear the ones, you know, you can hear they style in him. But nobody knew who I was. So when he came out rapping my shit, they like, ooh, this nigga fluent. You know what I mean? Because they haven't heard me. So they just like, oh, Dre on some shit. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. That's the crazy part. Hey, so like when you and to let's deal with that. When you wrote California Love, yo, that verse, you was in the studio with him, or you took it home, or you took the beat home. How did that transpire?
Oh, we was working in the studio because we was at his house. We was at his house working on his album. So that was, uh, you know, I think we would had did like a 2 or 3 day session where we knocked out 3 or 4 joints. You know what I mean? Uh, so Roger came to the house and all that type shit. Yeah, so we was in there getting it. You know, he
So
is
how
super cool, man. So when he get in that zone, there's some shit about to get made. You know what I mean?
absolutely. So how long, like for that verse, how long would you say it took you to write that verse?
Maybe 15. It took me maybe 30 minutes to write all 3 verses. You know what I mean? So
Wow.
that verse itself probably took 10 minutes.
I,
You know,
I don't think I don't think a lot of people see. That's what I'm saying. That's the reason why I asked you for the time, right? Because I don't think a lot of people understand. Like it took you that amount of time to write that big of a hit of a song that's resonated whenever you hear it in clubs, whatever you hear it around the world on the radio, whatever. Like that's the reason why I asked you that question because I want people to know, like, yo, it took him 10 minutes to write that verse, 30 minutes overall to write the song, and this is what you have, like voila. And then, like you say, when Tupac came and put his verse on it, it was a done deal.
and Tupac wrote his even faster. Like, cause I'm pretty fast, but not like this nigga. This nigga write a whole song in 10 minutes with hook, everything. You know what I mean? And then go lay it in 10 minutes. You know what I mean? No fuck ups. You know, so you got that kind of pressure, man. It was good. I mean, people talk about the bad pressure at Death Row and all the bad shit at Death Row, but it was good pressure at Death Row too, as far as MC wise and making a hot song wise, beat pressure to come with some fly shit. You know what I mean? Because uh, you know, you step in there and you rapping, nigga, you got Corrupt right there. You know what I mean? You got little Malik Hershey Loke, he was 14, 15 eating them seeds up. You know what I mean? You got the best female rapper, Lady of Rage, she spitting. So you better come with it or they gonna chop your head off. Snoop. Snoop was razor sharp. You know what I mean? So it was like you know, a lot of dope ass rappers. CPO Boss Hog was there, dog. You know what I mean? So it was some niggas with skills.
So
So
you
you
so you
had
really had to come with your A game.
to come with it, bro.
Wow, that's amazing. Hey, so like and so now when you deal with that, like the first song you wrote for Dr. Dre was what? Was that Natural Born Killers?
Natural Born Killers. Yes, sir.
So run me through that. How did that transpire? Like, yo, where were you? You know, how long it took you to write it? When did you get the beat? How did that come about?
Well, so the Natural Born Killers was right after we had met Dre and he liked our tape and all that. He invited us to his crib after this barbecue we had. He invited us to the crib and they had that Natural Born Killers beat up. Sneed and them was back there. They had the Natural Born Killers beat up. And he asked me, did I have something for that? Well, it sounded murderous. You know what I mean? So, you know, I already had a joint with the homies called It Ain't Where You From, It's Where's You Got. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so, like, oh, that verse will fit right there. So I just spit it that one, you know, journey with me into the mind of the maniac, doomed to be a killer since I came out the nut sack. Because they wanted some Natural Born Killer shit. There was a movie coming out. It was supposed to be on that soundtrack,
Okay.
right? And so they Dre liked that shit like off top.
He
And
liked
then
it off the top. Wow, wow. Yeah, that's no, that's I find that so. And once again, I'm gonna get into the time. So, how long did it take you to write that song? Would you say about the same amount of time?
was an old verse, so I just spitted that off the top of the head. I didn't write shit.
You didn't write shit, so it was already like, wow, wow.
Already, because that was already a song that I had did when I was back east already. When I was still in, you know what I mean. So back then niggas had 5 or 6. Because the thing about it is, I was never. I'm gonna keep it real. I was never a freestyle type of nigga. Like I can't really go off top that good. You know what I mean? I gotta write, arrange that shit and write it.
Right.
So back then niggas wasn't like. I mean, you gotta give hip hop that. You gotta give them that plus. I know niggas talk bad about hip hop a lot right now, but you gotta give them that a lot of these niggas don't even write the shit down no more. It's just coming off top.
Yeah. But I think though, Flexx, when you talk about listening to you and what you've done, it's not the same anymore. When you listen to a Dr. Dre record, I'm gonna get into the next joint. Like when you listen to like a Keep Your Heads Ringing, right? And that was another joint that you wrote for Dr. Dre. When you get into that record, and you get into a lot of records that you hear today, the penmanship and the craftsmanship is just not there. You like General Motors and a lot of these cats, they it's like the new car company. You know what I mean? No proven concept or anything like that. Your concept, I would say, was proven. And like I said, it's hit after hit after dope record after dope record. And I think that's why Dre messed with you like that. So like I said, with Keep Your Heads Ringing, right? What was that like? What was the process like? Because now you in it after Natural Born Killers. You know what I mean? You now you in it. It's like, okay, boom, Keep Your Heads Ringing. How did Dre come at you with that one? What was the process?
But yeah, like I say, man, Dre was always good with concepts. So he'd come at you with the concept, which was really my weakness. My whole shit was, you give me a subject and I'll write on it. You know what I mean? Or once you tell me what we busting on, then I'm finna kill it.
Right.
But gonna be MC shit. You know what I mean? So he said his whole thing was keep the heads ringing, like he ringing a bell, like getting some top.
Right.
Right. Dope way to do it with the sequence joint. You know what I mean?
Right.
I was like, he's like, I just want to, I'm keeping their heads ringing. He like, just talk some big dog shit. Like, all right, cool. Well, I have verses on fucking like Rolodex already. You know what I mean? So honestly, for Keep the Heads Ringing, the first and the third verse, I had wrote years before that. And I just was like,
so that was something that was already done already.
So my whole shit was verses that would fit, because I had an arsenal so much already.
Right.
And back then you had MCs had to have rhymes on deck, like ready to go, like
notebooks, like the notebooks, right? Yeah.
So I had the first verse already, you know what I mean? He said he wanted to start it off like funk you right on the, so I started that off, so get up, get a move on, and get your groove on, So that's the only little part I wrote in the first verse. After that, it was already a verse that I had. The party, I go for your neck, so call me Blackula. You know what I mean? And so that fit. It fit the beat. Wow. I did write the second verse because I didn't have nothing from before about Death Row. So the second verse I wrote right on the spot, like 1, 2 for the crew, 3, 4 for the hoe, 5 for the dough, 6, 7, 8 for Death Row. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I wrote that.
I think yo, when you talk about this, man, it just bring back so many memories, man. Like I say, for people right now listening to this interview, like if you go back and you just pull up that record or those records, right, and you hear you talk about it, it brings a whole new view of it. You know what I mean? Coming from the guy who actually did the writing, because it's one thing to produce it, one thing to say it, but it's another thing to actually do that writing, because without the writing, you don't have a song. You have a track, but you don't really have that full complete song. So I think, that's the part that really that I'm intrigued about. I remember when we first met, I was like, this the guy right here that be writing those joints. I'm like, man, and it was, I was like, because being an artist myself, I was like, damn, and that's how we hit it off, and then been cool ever since. So Tupac and writing that verse on California Love, was you there when he did it?
Yeah, I was there.
Or is that
But
right?
touch on something else on Keep the Heads Ringing, bro. This how you know it was real at the time, because that line when I say I'm fin to get into my mental and take care of this business I need to attend to. Cause my rent and this rap shit, my meal ticket. So you goddamn right I'm gonna kick it or get evicted. You know what I mean?
Right.
Really happening then. Like these motherfuckers like, hey, the rent, what's happening? The rent due. I'm like, oh, I'm finna get it. So I was, even though I was in the game, I was living check to check then. You know what I mean? Like, so and I kicked it and I didn't get evicted. You know what I mean?
Yeah, hey, look, that's the. So it was that when y'all was living in the apartments out in the valley,
That was before the valley. That's when we was living in West Palm. DJ Quick was my neighbor.
Okay,
like out here, you know. So, but yeah, man. What would you? California.
Yeah, California Love, the Pac verse. You said like, yo, I was asking you, was you there when he wrote his verse?
Pac wrote his verse.
Right.
No, I wasn't there when Pac wrote his verse. I wasn't there when Pac wrote his verse.
Uh-huh.
I had already laid my shit down. It was already a song. He just took his two verses off and put Pac's on. You know what I mean?
Right.
I was there when Pac and them made None But a Gangster Party and a couple other ones. You know what I mean? But
so what was that session like? Because that was crazy. That was dope. Since I had Daz on, but from your perspective, what was that like?
Hard, man. That was the first day I met Tupac. Was they was laying Nothing But a Gangster Party. I came in and him and Snoop was in the studio. I had just stopped by Can-Am to get some bud. You know what I mean? See who was up there, get some bud. And Snoop and Pac was in the studio. That's the day I met Pac. I was like, good to see you, bro. He's like, good to be seen.
Right.
You know what I mean? I checked them out. They was doing that shit. And then we blew one and I dipped. You know what I mean? But man, just he worked so fast, dog. You know what I mean? It was like that was the pressure that was keeping everybody else sharp, man. Like, because it was so much talent and skill level around there, man. But I was there when Roger laid his parts and all that. I was there for all of that. You know what I mean? Horn sections and the making of the actual song from the beginning up to what it became. You know what I mean?
So what was Roger like, man? If you can say, as a person, like, what was he like?
Roger was cool, man, and humble and just a showman, dude. Like I said, story about how he showed up to lay the verse at Dre house and he had on a yellow motherfucking three-piece suit and red shirt and red velvet shoes and some motherfucking red dress socks with a stack of wild 20s in that motherfucker. They style,
right.
OG also, and he was cool as hell. We chopped it up. When I told him I was from Dayton, he had knew some of my aunties. I went to school with a couple of his nieces and shit like that. So yeah, man, he was cool as hell. And he showed out in that motherfucker. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, it was like he was at a concert, but it was just him in there.
Okay.
So it was like he was the same as if he would have been on stage. You know what I mean?
Okay. Right. Just giving it that energy.
Just as animated and was getting it.
So now the California Love is done. Here come the video shoot. You was there?
Yeah. I went to the it was out in the desert and it was cold as hell out there, man. It was like in the middle of the desert. They set that shit up. It looked really like Mad Max. It really looked like Mad Max. They must have shot the real Mad Max out there. I don't know.
Right.
They did it in Australia, but it looked like that, And
Okay.
it was a blast, man. It was a blast. Motherfuckers was drunk, but yeah, it was different. That was different back then. Like,
Right. Yeah, it definitely was different back then than it is right now. Hey, so was it any altercations on set that you can
no,
remember? Nothing.
there wasn't no altercations. I mean, I could feel tension, but that was the beginnings of the split. You know what I mean? So that was the beginning of the whole, the Titanic about to strike the iceberg or whatever. You know what I mean? So
Right, right. Hey, I want to ask you a question because you kind of left with Dre, but you were still signed with Death Row. When did you know anything? Did you feel anything? Did Dre ever tell you anything? Because you have been writing for him. You know what I mean? Did he ever say like, "Yo, I'm about to slide"?
yeah, he called a meeting and told us he was about to slide me, Butter, Stocks, uh Sharif, uh and Sam Snead. He called
Okay,
and called with him, but he wasn't able to do it. That was his intention, but I don't know if he thought it would be easier to get us off or what happened or Suge wasn't budging. I don't know, but he wound up just leaving by himself. He didn't take none of us. You know what I
wow.
mean? Like uh so we kind of got caught over there. It's kind of like when the US left Vietnam, the niggas was jumping on the copter.
He said when the U.S. left Vietnam, we're trying to go right. They trying to like,
So it was like, oh shit. So then we was the enemy when he left. You know what I mean? So it's like Snead caught heat for that. I caught heat for that. You know, but at the end of the day, bro, everything worked out like it should have. I mean, I'm glad Dre was, successful and able to do what he did, bro. You
right,
know, him back then was just if you wasn't gonna take us, just say that. But he was saying he called the meeting to say, I'm sliding, I'm taking y'all with me. You know what I mean? Like, okay, cool. But then come back and say, hey, bro, I was trying to get y'all, but the shit ain't work out. But it wasn't none of that. It was just like, hey, do this ghost shit. You know what I mean? Behind Suge back.
right.
Come on, setting us up for failure. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
that's true. That's true.
That was my whole beef with him. And I was already signed to Death Row, so I had to do something. I'm like, well, shit, I'm already under contract with this nigga. I might as well go get my money.
Right. So when you speaking of that, when you signed your contract with Death Row, did you feel like it was a fair contract?
When I signed my contract with Death Row in 1995, I'm gonna be honest with you, I didn't give a fuck what it said. It was Death Row, nigga. That'd be like somebody 10 years ago signing with Cash Money. You know what I
Right.
mean? Young nigga. Like, oh, hey, here go a contract for Cash Money. Fuck yeah,
Yeah.
it's Cash, Lil Wayne in there. You know what I mean? So that's where I was with it. And I'll shouts out to my nigga Gene Boogie because he was like, man, he had went out of town. Like, man, don't sign that shit till I get back, man. We gotta have somebody look at it, this, that. But they put that motherfucker in front of me. I'm like, oh, so if I sign this, I'm gonna be on the road. Yes, you will. You know what I mean?
Wow. And this was after California Love and all of that.
Nah, we hadn't did California Love yet. I think this was maybe Keep the Heads Ringing time, right before
Okay. So you had already your pen game was already proven though.
Heads Ringing. You know what I mean? In between those two.
Okay. So your pen game was already proven then.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I could see how they would want to make that move right there. That's like signing a star quarterback.
Sign us up because we was all working on Sam Snead's album. So it was really Sam Snead had hooked him up a little production deal, and we were signing it under Snead. You know what I mean? But we were signing to Death Row.
Y'all was working on Sam Snead's album when they really initially signed you to Death Row. So and I appreciate your honesty, man, and basically saying like, yo, you was young, you didn't care. You know what I mean? A lot of people wouldn't have the heart to admit to that. You know what I mean? So your relationship, because everybody had a different relationship with Suge Knight, right? Your relationship with Suge Knight, how was that?
Always good, really. I mean, other than me signing a fucked up contract, like, but that was on me. You know what I mean? I can't blame them for. Everybody had fucked up contracts back then. Wasn't nobody smart enough to, you know, what Stocks was. Stock was like, I gotta get somebody to look at my shit first. You know?
Oh, so Stocks was smart enough to be like, yo, Stocks wasn't signed.
Well, I think he signed eventually, but Stocks was more hesitant. I mean, he was on that Queen shit, so he already was like he had already put out albums and shit like that, and put out little demos and shit. So he was
Right.
all of them. And so then, man, but other than that, Suge was cool with my manager Karen, right?
Right.
He was cool, and Karen was cool with Dre too. So uh he already looked at me as favorable. And plus, I didn't really deal a lot with Suge, but when I did, first time I met Suge Knight, right? I didn't even know who he was. And
And you were signed?
no.
Okay, okay. Got
you. When I told you I gave Dre my demo tape, right? And then so after we had did Natural Born Killers and he heard it, he liked it. He said, make me a tape of it. He said, y'all come up to this video shoot. They was doing a video shoot for Murder Was the Case, right? And so when I pull up there, uh, I hear Natural Born Killers bumping, but it was still me rapping. It wasn't Dre rapping yet. And then Fools was like, who is that? And he was pointing at me like, that's this nigga Flexx. You know what I mean?
right.
I was like, God damn it, I'm here. You know, it wasn't really when we gave him the tape at the it wasn't really when we gave him the tape at at the stoplight. It wasn't really when he said he liked my shit at the party or none of that. Or when I rapped it at his house. But when we pulled up on the video shoot and that shit was bumping out the Ferrari, and niggas was like, who is that? You know what I mean? And that nigga turned and pointed to us like, that's Flexx. I was like, yeah, nigga, I'm here. You know what I mean? Here we go. You know, that was the moment. Yeah, but yeah, man. So at that shoot, Suge had a Lolo out there, a 61. I'll never forget it. And that was one of the first ones that I had really seen up close. You know what I mean? I seen them in videos and all that shit. My cousin had an El Camino, but it wasn't really juice like that. And then that's my first one I seen dance and do all that shit in person. You know what I mean? So I was like, oh man, that car bad in the mud. He's like, you want it? That's the first shit he ever said to me. Like,
Who Suge asked you, did you want the 61?
he ever said to me was like, you want it? Like, Sneak was like, nah, he don't want it. He don't want it. You know.
So now check this out. See, now what you describing to me at that particular time, it seemed like Suge was cool.
Yeah,
he wasn't cool. He wasn't the Suge Knight that became the Suge Knight that everybody want to try to demonize or whatever.
He was already that guy, but that's the thing about him. Like, I never encountered nothing directed towards me. Not to say I didn't see no shit go down, but I'm saying he never directed that towards me. But we was always on some business shit, like, and I wasn't never really trying to be like all up with that nigga, like, hey, what's cracking? What we into? You know what I mean? Like, what we on tonight? Or I wasn't really trying to like I wasn't trying to prove nothing to that nigga. So he kind of already knew I was there for the music. So he didn't smell none of that trying to be a gangster shit on me. You know what I mean? So he didn't come at me with that. You know. And then on the other side of things, I never really put myself in the situation to where, I'm finna run him hot on no shit because I ain't kicking it with him like that. You know what I mean?
Right. So your thing was you was a creative and you stayed in your lane as a creative.
Stayed in my lane. I ain't claiming no motherfucking set, nigga. I'm from Dayton, Ohio. And we don't have gangs. You know,
Respect. Hey, so now the thing now, would you say that was part of what Tupac had basically was trying to do? I mean, when he came over there, because I like you said, you met him when they was in the studio and they was doing Two of America's Most Wanted, and he was gracious. You know what I mean? And seemed like he was gracious. And then so as time went on, what was your experience with Tupac?
as time went on, I think once he went to the hood with the MOBs and experienced the love they was giving him and all that, I felt like he became part of that. He wanted to be a part of that. And he was the type of nigga, if he was down with you, he was all the way down. You know what I mean? Like, if that would have been me walking with Trey and them, and Trey said, that's the nigga that snatched my chain, you know what I mean? Uh, hey, you better go bomb on him. You know what I mean? I'm not finna go bomb on him. He didn't snatch my, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's the difference. That's the difference in where you're gonna be coming from with that versus where Tupac came from.
Pac's whole heart was on that shit. Like, hey, oh, that nigga, I'm finna be the first one to stomp him. You know what I mean?
Right.
Whereas, but don't get it twisted, because the funk that I got into with Pac and them was because somebody bombed on my homie. You know what I'm saying? So if the nigga would have came and bombed on Trey and I'm standing right there, yeah, he finna catch it. You know what I mean? But I'm not about to jump into your beef that I'm not into. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Right.
I mean, but on the flip side, you know, the beef that I got into was because the outlaw niggas jumped on my homie, and I was standing right there. Like, I'm not gonna just stand there and be like, let y'all let the homie take an L by itself. Now y'all gonna have to jump me too. You know what I mean? So
Absolutely.
it was all young then. So I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah. You know what? You know, it's funny that you speak on that because Napoleon was asked about that, and I think he had got it. I think he got it a little bit wrong. I think he did the art of dialogue, and he spoke on that, and he was like, he definitely gave you a shout out. He was like, you know, shout out to Jay Flex because we was young, you know what I mean? Wow, free, you know, and all of that. So I really commend Napoleon for taking that route, and he's just a different guy. Like I said, you a different guy, older family, kids, and the whole nine.
he he matured a lot, and on top of that, dude changed his whole life around. You know what I mean? But uh, I mean, I'm sure they wouldn't expect, and we have since. I mean, right after Pac died, everybody sat down and aired the shit out, and we was cool after that. But you know, but at that point, you know, I wasn't on no gangster shit, but at the same time, you not finna punk us neither. Like, I'll take that L right with him, bro. You're not just gonna, you know. But then they was just acting off of what Pac told them. You know what I mean? Because they riding for their crew just like I'm riding for mine. So that's just how it went down back then. You
So
know. So
so so actually, what happened? What made that situation? Give me the story behind that. The story behind what when you and Tupac and all y'all got fighting. What happened?
uh, I think I had it a little wrong too, because I thought Pac and them had went out to the video shoot where Biggie and them shot the trailer up. But Pac and them didn't go. It was just Snoop and the dog pounding them. You know what I mean? But that amped up everybody. So everybody was amped up. You know, so my nigga Sharif was from Brooklyn. This nigga in the booth when Pac and them come in talking about Brooklyn in the house, you know, I don't think he did it to incense them, but that's just him. He like this Brooklyn nigga, whatever. You know, whatever may come of it. You know what I mean? So uh and so I think that's kind of what had him on that shit. You know what I mean?
Right.
I smelled it already, so I was like, this shit is thick in here. Like, let's go let's go in the other studio. But what we actually did by going in the other studio was having them think, oh, these niggas are separated. Let's go get at them. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Okay.
And so that's kind of how it happened. It happened just like Napoleon said. He came in, took off on the homie. You know, they get to going at it. I jumped in it. Then somebody, I didn't know it was Big Psych, but he said it was Big Psych. Somebody hit me from behind. I turned around and started fighting them. You know, but and shit.
So Pac was laying back, just being a general. He didn't really get into it.
Nah, because Bud, my homie Bud was like trying to get in there. He was holding Bud back, like, don't get in it.
So Tupac was holding the Butter back.
Yeah.
Okay, got you. Yeah. Shout out to Butter. Like I said, I ain't seen him or heard from him in a while, but shout out to Butter, man. Dope producer. You know what I mean? Yeah. One of them guys, man.
Yeah, he doing good, man.
He is. That's good. That's good. But no,
Yeah.
I find that to be interesting, man. Like I said, those stories. And so after that altercation, did you and Tupac, did y'all ever get a chance to, make amends?
Me and the Outlaws did. We aired it out, and we cool to this day. Although I just chopped it up with Edie uh late last year. He was at one of Sebo's videos.
Okay.
And on Sebo and Realist, they were shooting a video, and Edie was there. We chopped it up. So I'm still cool with all them, Napoleon, all.
Yeah, shout out to Sebo, shout out to the Realist, shout out to Edie too. I just seen Edie down at the Tupac Museum. Hey, did you get a chance to go down there and check it out?
Oh, it's fire. I already know it's fire, man. Gotta go just feel that whole vibe down there for real.
Right. No, like I said, no, that's it's very interesting, man. Like I say, the stories, man. What's now so Flexx, what I'm gonna ask you is this: at what point did you feel like, for you, because Dre had left Death Row, right? So Dre is out. At what point did you feel like, you know what, it's time for me to leave? I gotta go because I'm not really getting, my creative thing off like I want to.
They quit putting out music. I was there all the way. I had beats on Chronic 2000. I was there for all that.
Okay.
And actually, I never got off Death Row. My contract just expired. You know what I mean? So I was there to the end. But
wow.
The thing about it is, I did go to Suge because I used to go see Suge in prison and all that. You know, but I just talked to Suge maybe a month ago, 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago.
So we still cool. But
okay.
Yeah.
What's his conversation like, man? What's his spirit like? Is he holding his head?
Positive, bro. He always positive. He gave me some ideas for some songs, bro, that turned out to be fun. You know what I mean? He told me to do one for back to school, like called Backpack Swag. So I knocked that one out. That shit hard.
Is it?
It's like, so we gotta find some little kids to spit that shit. You know what I mean?
So what is the spit the chorus?
Yeah, no.
Okay.
Verses too.
Oh, the verses too. Okay.
Backpack Swag, so he hooked, he got some, I think he got some little girls that he wanted to rap it. So, he's still active. But
shout out to Suge Knight, man. Like I say, hold his head. I don't know if anybody see the video. Hold your head, Suge. At the end of the day. Yeah, so no, I find that to be interesting, man, that you talk to him and all of that. So you say your contract expired.
Yeah, I never got off Death Row. My contract expired, man. But I did go to try to get off because the thing about it is, I went to Suge like, hey, bro, let me go get a deal. He knew it wasn't no more music coming out. You know what I mean? And it was getting to that point, and he was like, Flexx, you've been loyal. I want to see you bubble, bro. Go find a deal. It's not a problem. You know what I mean? He didn't.
Right.
Like I said, I ain't had nothing but good dealings with dudes. So
yeah.
Other than the contract that was shitty for everybody.
Right.
But he, when I got with Suge, I started getting paid. I wasn't getting paid like that with Dre. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So,
yeah, you wasn't getting, because you was basically ghostwriting, so you wasn't getting paid. But when you was dealing with Suge, you started getting paid because you was an artist signed to the label.
So he like, and if you do this song, I'm gonna just put an extra 25 racks on it. You know what I mean? All right, cool.
Right. So 25 rack, when you say he gonna put an extra 25 racks on it, 25 racks on what?
On top of the money he was already giving me to do the song. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So, I had to, I dissed Dre, everybody dissed him though, and then they go back. But I this thing, but I kept my shit factual, and and about publishing and rights and shit like that. I didn't come like everybody else, like he, on no gay shit or this and that. They made the video that way, but they wanted me to say the shit in the song. And I'm like, nah, I ain't gonna rap about none of that shit. I ain't been privy to none of that. What I will, publishing wise and you niggas get y'all paperwork straight, because I was green. I was just happy to be around.
Right.
So
when you say that, we're like, yeah, they trying to get you to say stuff that you wouldn't have any personal knowledge of, but just trying to really go at them from that perspective, right?
Exactly. So I'm like, I'm gonna go at the perspective that I know.
Yeah, absolutely.
And try to educate these niggas coming up, get your paperwork and all that shit together. You know what I mean? So you don't get jerked,
No, that's the cold part about it. So have you seen Dr. Dre since all of this stuff has mellowed out?
I seen Bruce. I seen his assistant. I still see his brother. I still fuck with Warren. I talked to Warren the other day, and he got another brother named Tim that I still fuck with.
Yeah,
but
I know Tim used to be down at the studio. Yeah.
So I still kick it with his people.
Right.
And I'm sure he ain't tripping. Come on.
Yeah,
man.
nah, absolutely not. No, I'm just saying, I just wonder if you've seen him, since then, ran into him or whatever. So,
but I'm sure if or when I see him, it'll be love, bro. He ain't tripping on no shit like that. He ain't you know what I mean? He ain't
right.
that. He ain't gonna be like, fuck that nigga. You know what I mean? He ain't on that.
Yeah. I mean, at this particular point, in his life, he just went through the little health thing. I'm sure, he, like you say, he ain't really on that, and he's just trying to basically live his life. You know what I mean? At this particular point, and make good music. I heard that him and Snoop and them working on a new album. You know what I mean? I don't, huh?
That'd be dope.
Huh? Yeah. Dad said that they working on a new album. So I was like, yo, that definitely. So my question, if Dre asks you to come back, man, and write some shit for him, would you do it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because he the one that put me in the game. You know what I mean? Like I said, it wasn't never no animosity thing. It was a situation where I was already signed to Suge. Dre couldn't pay me.
Right.
Pay me. Dre wanted me to go behind Suge back and do some shit and maybe get paid. You know what I mean? And he hadn't, he was down financially at that time when he left. He was starting over. You know what I mean? So he couldn't get me out. He couldn't pay me. You know what I mean? And he wanted me to go behind this nigga back. You know what I mean? And on top of that, he a hot and cold nigga. Niggas don't stay around him. You know what I mean? Like when he done with you, he done with you. You know what I mean? Like, so,
absolutely.
I can count on one hand the niggas that's still around here from when I met him.
Yeah. It ain't. I like I said, I can see the same thing. It's like, and for whatever reason it is. But like, yeah, you're absolutely right about that.
So even the niggas that's still around, they in and out. You know what I mean? Like Doc's still there, but they fell out. You know what I mean? And,
right.
And so what's to say if I would have did all that and risked all the shit I was risking and went and fucked with him? What's to say he wouldn't have kicked me? He wouldn't have curved me a year later.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, because you wasn't signed to him, and you was doing the ghostwriting thing, and like I said, you wanted your publishing. And what I like about the this record, been there, done what, is you did keep it factual about what was going on with you and your situation with him from that perspective. And like I said, if anybody was trying to listen, to the message in it, it was get your paperwork right, make sure your business is handled, and so on and so forth. So like I said, that was a dope record. I thought that was like, wow, conceptual wise, you know what I mean? That was crazy. So was that your idea or was that Suge's idea?
No, that was Suge's idea because at that point he was parodying everything. Because if you remember, No Diggity, then they did Toss It Up,
right?
And they did then Top Dog did. I mean, Snoop did Cinderfella. Then they did Top Dog Cinderfella. You know what I mean? So they was
Okay. See, I didn't catch that. I caught the other two that you talking about, you know, from Been There, Done That, and then the other the Tupac record, but not the Cinderfella joint. I didn't catch that.
been there, done that, right? And so he was like, "You should do who been there, who done that, because you did it." You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I was like, "But that's biting though." And my, so I was on some MC shit. So
Right, right.
but that's biting though. And then he was like, "Well, how's it biting if you wrote that shit too? You biting yourself, like, you know?" So that
Right,
nigga,
right.
you know what I mean? So I was like, fuck. I guess you can't bite yourself. You know what I mean? So, so that's how that went down.
So yeah, and like I said, getting into that, the situation with Sam Snead when they had assaulted him. Was you there for that?
Oh hell no! I told him not to go to it. But
Oh,
Snead, bro, he wasn't running, and he was getting. You know, I had just got into it up there at Can-Am, so I wasn't going back over there.
so that you talking about the situation involving with Napoleon them that you had just got into, and so you told, for the people that might not know and be aware, that you told Sam Snead not to go where.
To Can-Am.
Oh, so it happened at Can-Am.
So, you know, I told him not to go. He might not remember, but I told him, like, don't, hey, bro. I want tell him. I told him, tell him I'm out of town if they ask where I'm at, because I ain't going back up in that motherfucker ever. You know.
Wow.
But I wound up going back in after Pac died. You know, because the whole mood changed. Once he died, it was like, oh, this shit. You know what I mean? This shit is over. You know what I mean? And so, uh,
So
you know,
that was the feeling when Tupac died. When Tupac died, there was a vibe or air about the room or the situation that it's over.
well, the vibe was, you know, you just lost your general. You know what I mean? So, or you just lost your colonel. Suge was the general. You know what I
Right.
mean? You just lost your colonel, and so, you know, at that point, Suge was like, all this internal beef got to go now because this nigga's trying to kill all y'all. You know, so that night we aired all that shit out, and everybody was cool after. You know what I
Wow.
mean?
You know,
So,
the crazy part about that, man, is I wish Suge could have seen that earlier.
mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I wish he could have identified that earlier and been like, you know what, this ain't good for business. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but he was dealing with the split with Suge. You know, you got Jimmy putting shit in the mix. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
You know what I mean? And
True.
that's what I talk about. And you know, I don't know if maybe they'll blackball me for this, but I don't give a fuck. But you know, don't underestimate the power of Interscope, man. Like them peeping the scenario and like, you know, grabbing the golden goose and letting the ship sink. You know what I mean? Like
Wow.
you industry rule number 4080. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Record company people are shady, man. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. They, you know, hey, look, that's one of them joints, right? When you talk about hip hop, right? If you wasn't really, that was a man, you
Yeah.
know. So, you know, for the cats that don't know, that's that Tribe Called Quest, man. You know what I mean? But yeah, but like I said, so what do you think the thing between Dr. Dre and Tupac? Why do you think Tupac do now? Because Tupac said in an interview when he came to Death Row, one of the reasons that he decided to go record under the umbrella of Death Row was because of Dr. Dre. So do you think that Tupac was mad because Dr. Dre left after he got there?
I think when Tupac got there, I think I'm not sure how much he recognized that it was two sides of Death Row. You know what I mean? So you had Death Row, the label, you had Death Row, the set. You know what I mean?
Okay. Now explain that to the people that don't know. You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of people that's gonna watch this, gonna make assumptions about what they think they know. I'm talking to somebody who was actually there to be able to witness those two different parts of it.
You had Death Row was the label, which was the rap, the niggas that rap, that make the music, the creatives, you know, and Dr. Dre was, was kind of heading that section. And then you had Death Row the Set, which was the security, the homies, you know what I mean? The niggas that rap, but they homies too, you know what I mean? And you had that whole set, so uh you had the muscle side of Death Row, and you had the music side of Death Row.
Okay.
I think you needed both sides, but that it needed to be a balance. And I think what happened was the muscle side of Death Row started taking over, and it started affecting the creativity. You know what I mean? Because when the whole shit happened between, you know, Puff and Suge, basically, not really Biggie and Pac. You know what I mean?
Right. Absolutely. The early on situation. Right.
With Puff and Suge was like, and then let's keep it real, bro. I know you from out that way, but in the beginning, New York was hating. You know what I mean? So
Right. Right.
hating, motherfucker Snoop and Dre came on the scene and started kicking everybody ass. Puff came and started dropping his shit and started repping for the East. You know what I mean? And somehow the shit happened with the Source Awards and all that. But even beyond that, I think the Jake and Wolf situation is what really set it off.
Yeah, basically set it off. Yeah. That's what I try to tell people. Like when Pac came, it wasn't that he had to pick up anything because he had his situation with being there. It
Right.
was just, yeah, he just came into something that was already brewing, and it was like, I'm with this, and he rode along with it. You know what I mean? Because he had his own little discrepancies too with the Biggie thing and all of that. So, which wasn't really what that was supposed to be, but yet and still he felt like he could milk that.
He was with it because his contemporary on the other side was somebody he could direct that all the way to. So it's like if me and you is if I'm beefing with Melly Mel and you
Right.
beef, you know what I mean, and then we meet up, we like, man, fuck both them niggas. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
it was kind of like it was kind of like that situation where Suge already had the whole thing going over Jake and them and all that shit. And then here come Pac getting shot, and them niggas wouldn't help him out, let him sit in jail.
Right. Right.
But Suge and them jump on it, pull him out. He like, oh, then it's West Side then, because they hate him anyway. Fuck him. You know what I mean? Uh, so he was right all the way, 100% with that shit.
Right.
And then, so in his mind, this is what my opinion. In his mind, when he get out here, and Suge and them is on that shit, like just like him. But Dre and them is on some, we ain't coming to the studio, you come to the house, or we ain't with all that shit. So in my opinion, Pac is considering that shit bougie. You know what I mean? Like, so he like, why these niggas ain't, and then Pac is hearing the homies on Suge's side of things, because they already get riffing, you know what I mean? So
Absolutely.
he hearing the homies that he hanging with. He not over there hanging with Dre and us. You know what I mean? And he
True.
not in them. He hanging with, you know, he hanging with OLTB and Neckbone and Trey and Buntry and Heron and them. And their
Yeah.
opinion becomes his opinion of Dre. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Right. Right. Yeah. Unfortunately, man. Yeah. So I think that when you deal with that whole situation, man, it's kind of unfortunate because I don't really think they even understood the power that they had. Even with
Right.
all the money, and the influence that they had, I don't really think that they understood really like what it was that was really the thing that made that thing so special. You know what I mean? And so I got a question. What do you think was the thing that destroyed Death Row?
Uh, I think the thing that destroyed Death Row was a combination, right? A combination of uh Tupac getting shot, uh, Dre leaving, and once Dre left and Pac died, uh, Interscope backing away, Suge going to jail. It was a perfect storm. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I do know what you mean.
And I think all of those things kind of happened in succession. You know what I mean? And on top of the street shit that was going on behind Pac getting shot. So then you got you got the police heat, you know what I mean? And before you can even get out of that, you got Biggie getting killed, then you get more implications, you know. So on top of the music suffered, you know. I was there before Dre left and after Dre left.
Right.
You know what and you know, the music suffered when he left, but not just because he was gone, but also because the creative vibe wasn't there no more. It was more of the music wasn't first no more. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah, I do.
You know what I mean? And you just buy this shit because we death row. Nah, it gotta still be slapping. You know what I mean? Like, and so I think the other thing was, and you can't pin it all on Suge. I think the other thing was that Dre was such a perfectionist that he sat on shit too long. You know what I mean? Because he was so scared. Not scared, but he was just like, I don't want to put out no flops. You know what I mean? So whereas if he would have took the stance that, say, Master P or somebody took, because he had enough albums to do that.
Right.
You know what I mean? So if they would have did like Master P did, like, man, we putting out an album every fucking 6 months. If they would have followed the game plan that used to be on the back of the albums, remember on the back of the albums used to be like coming soon.
Coming soon. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
If they would have put all them songs, if they would have put all those out, oh man, they would still be today.
Yeah. I think, like you said, the street element of that kind of, you know, kind of diverted things and took things off the path of what was really what made it work in the beginning.
That's what made our thing too, but what really made it work was the music was dope.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That was the thing that you know, without the music, you know, you like they said with the Chronic and the whole nine, you got that, then you got, you know, Come With Doggy Style, and yeah, it was, you know, they were dropping real good records. It was all about the music at that particular time. So
it was on me, Dog Food, Murder Was the Case soundtrack. You know what I'm saying? Machiavelli. You know, gang related soundtrack was hard. That's that plaque. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I see that. Yeah, that gang related was hard though. I like that. That's that joint with Lady Heroin's on there, right?
Oh, that's on Gridlock.
No, that's on the Gridlock. Yeah, that's on the Gridlock. Which one you did on that one? Which one you did on that?
Gridlock?
No, I'm on the gang related.
I did two joints on there, A Change to Come and Free 'Em All, me and Realist.
Okay, yeah. Dope.
And Can Function and all of them. That was like, that's when, you know, it was on some non-violent shit at that point because Biggie and Pac had got killed by that point. You know?
Okay, that's what's up. Hey, so tell me this. So when you heard that Tupac died, yo, what did it make you feel like?
It was sad, man, because, you know, I was like, man, I knew all the shit that it was gonna cause on the street. When he got shot, I was sad because I knew it was gonna cause some shit on the street. But then when he died, I was like, man, this is coming to it. It felt like the Titanic had sank. You know what I mean? And I was, you know, we gotta swim. We're gonna have to sink or swim. You know what I mean?
Right. Wow. And the same thing about Biggie. What, you know, when Biggie passed away, how did you feel about that?
I was there when he got killed.
Oh yeah, you was. Oh yeah. So okay, I wanted to ask you a question about that night at the Peterson, right? When you ran into Biggie because you had walked up on him, right? Explain the story, man. Tell a story.
Gene be talking about. That's what Gene Deal be talking about. Like, he had Biggie down, bro. He had Biggie's back. You know what I mean? So I, I'm the only guy that had the death row chain on in there. So they already like keep an eye on me. So I tell Karen I'm gonna go over there and talk to him. So I just went over there. Gene stepped out, you know. So I'm like, hey bro, is it cool to holler at Big? I'm just trying to do some music. You know what I mean? He's like, yeah, it's Big said cool. He said cool, I'll get over there and get to getting that Big, you know. He tell me, oh, I'm cool with it. Holla at Puff. You know, Puff gave me a number, said call Derek at Bad Boy, call Bad Boy, ask for Derek. All right, cool. You know, but he 20 minutes later he was shot. You know what I mean?
So was you still there or had you left?
I was still inside.
Oh, you were still inside when it happened. Wow.
Shots though. So we heard the shots. You know what I mean? And we thought it was inside. Everybody coming down the escalator, like, what the fuck was that? Like, it must have been outside. You know what I mean?
Right.
But then we had this pandemonium because it happened around the corner. It wasn't right in the front. You know what I mean? They had turned the corner already.
Right.
So you couldn't really see what was really going on. It was just pandemonium. Like, what the fuck is going on out here? You know, then it started to circulate. Like,
so when you was inside, you couldn't feel no vibe, like nothing was gonna happen and nothing, like it was just regular good time having it, all of that.
Dope party. It was a dope party. They only closed it down because it was too full.
Wow.
Coming down, I heard the shots like what the fuck was that?
Right.
And you know, you look around, it ain't no action, so you like, whatever, keep out, because there was a lot of people. When we got outside, it was crazy, but I just thought it was crazy because, you know, it was star-studded. Motherfuckers is running around or whatever.
Absolutely.
Corner, we like, what the fuck going on? You know what I mean? Like, and so by the time we got home, they was like, Biggie dead. What? I was like, that's what we heard. You know what I mean?
Right. I remember where I was at. I was at Paradise 24. I had rode past there, but I was remember Paradise 24? I was at Paradise 24 that night, and I heard it. And when I heard what happened, they was actually playing going back to Cali and Paradise. It was crazy, man. It was crazy. It was so like, you know, yeah.
Party, man.
Huh?
I was like, this album's solid. You know what I mean?
Right.
Again, he was being reckless, man. Like I said, that whole weekend I was seeing Biggie. I went to the movies. He was at the movies. You know what I mean? Like, it was this big nigga in a Versace shirt with a cane. Look, it's Biggie. You know what I mean? In the movies with me on Wilshire. I'm like, okay. And then seeing him on Sunset, like walking up and down Sunset, talking to fools in cars and all kind of shit. I'm like, I tell the homegirl KC, like, man, he being reckless out here. You know what I mean? Like, he's being real reckless. And I think Gene Deal talked about it, man, because he was trying to, he's trying to let him know, hey, bro, some shit's going down. I don't know if you need to go to this. But, you know, Puff was driven. He like, we got to promote this album or whatever. I wish I knew. And, I mean, last time I did an interview on this, somebody else had just got smoked. You know what I mean? Last time we talked about this, and you was there, Dale.
Right.
Pop Smoke had just got smoked. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Now the little PNB Rock nigga then got smoked. Let me send a message out, and I'm from back east. You know what I mean? So let me just put this out there to all my niggas from back east, man. Don't sleep on LA, man. Look, it ain't all fun and sun, bro. When you come out here, man, be humble, be respectful. You know what I mean? This LA, live it up, do that. You know what I'm saying? But man, you just can't come in these. They call it high side out here. I don't know if you remember Menace to Society when the nigga was on the rims or whatever, and then Kane be like, he nigga out here high side, and I had to get him. Remember that?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, like I said, the fact that you talking about that, right?
Yeah.
I did a video not too long ago about that in reference to that, and I was like, yeah, it's a different temperature. You know what I mean? It's hot, and it's beautiful women. It's the best, the best smoke and all of that other stuff that you probably want to shopping, rodeo, and the whole 9 yards. But you got to be respectful, and you got to know where you are. You know what I mean? I don't, I wouldn't. Everybody say tap in, but like I said, if you know somebody out here that know the streets and know the situations a little bit better than you, it's always good to reach out. Just from a respectful a point of view. Yeah, absolutely. So I agree with you. Yeah, but that high signing thing, yeah, that was real. That was one of the first things I learned when I came out here.
Yeah, high side, and I had to get him. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? A lot of these niggas that, and some of them ain't even hungry. Some of them just like on GP, like, man, I'm just gonna get this nigga. I must, you know what I mean? Because he think he a tough guy. You know what I mean? And he is a tough guy in Philly. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And on the flip side, you won't see YG go to Philly and be high siding and like he from there. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
absolutely.
So I'm just saying, LA is. I understand it's the land, it's Hollywood and all that, but it's also Compton, South Central Watts, East Los. You know what I mean? These niggas will get you, and so you got to know how to move and shake out here, or like you say, connect with somebody that do know how to move and shake. Don't just come out here because it's tourists out here, and you feel like, oh, that's like if a nigga go to Jamaica, you're not finna lead a resort and be in Trench Town, like shining, like what's happening, niggas? What's going on? You know what I mean? And I understand you want to connect with the hood and all that, but be with somebody from the hood, bro. Like, so I guess Jamaica would be the best comparison. Like when you go with your girl to Jamaica, you going to Montego Bay or you going to kick it in the tourist spots, bro. You're not finna be like take me to Trench Town. You know what
Right.
I mean? Take me to, I mean, unless you got somebody that you respect there that's gonna be like, come through, I'm gonna take you into Tiverton Gardens. You know what I mean? You ain't finna go in Tiverton Gardens, nigga.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And it's the same thing out here. So he had, I mean, not this woulda, coulda, shoulda, but I'm saying it's four other Roscoe's, nigga, that's more safe. You know what I mean? They got a Roscoe's in Anaheim. That's the one I go to. You know,
Yeah, I thought about that. I was like, well, whose suggestion was it to go to that particular Roscoe?
Manchester Roscoe's, nigga. You know what I mean? You could
Right.
have went. You would have been better at maybe at the Hollywood one, but they robbing niggas in Hollywood too. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But they not robbing niggas with no jewelry on. You know what I
True.
mean? Okay, if you a tough guy, I'm wearing all my shit. I'm flashing my shit on Instagram, nigga. I'm out here, LA, blah blah, whatever. I'm a hood, Okay, cool, but just be ready to lay a nigga down if he coming in on you, or if you're not ready, then don't be acting that way. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's like you say, humble is the way of the walk, man. And like I said, it's best to be on point and like I say, this trying to be safe and the key is making it back home. I think,
Yeah,
I think a lot of people take that for granted. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, it's about making it back home to your wife, your kids, or your family, or whoever you have, that your loved ones and things like that. So, always on point, always, just knowing what time it is and never playing yourself out of position and, and,
I'm
and, and trying to do too much.
not a tough guy. I'm just saying, bro, is shit that you can do to preserve your life out this motherfucker if you ain't from out here.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
I've been out here 30 years. I didn't ducked and dodged bullets and all that shit, but it's a way to move to where you don't draw attention to yourself, man. But if you like, man, fuck that. I want all the attention and all the smoke. They'll give it to you. That's the bottom line, bro.
It's lights, camera, action. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? It's lights, camera, action. And so if that, like you said, if that's what you want, you feel like you want, then like you said, it's there for the taking. Like I say, but like I said, more importantly, I always say, humble is the way of the walk and respect. My thing is, being on the streets and understanding what that always is. I don't care where you go, where you are. that word that so many people take for granted is respect.
Yep.
You gotta respect where you are. You gotta respect who who you're around. You gotta respect another man's town and another man's city, and knowing what it is. And like I say once again, I think a lot of stuff could be avoided. But once again, when you carrying it a certain kind of way and you think that you could do the same thing here that you can do back home, it's a different temperature. It's a different temperature. Yeah. They don't have no winter out here. It's basically summer all year long. So,
Yeah, exactly. And so, I mean, just like a nigga out here can't go to Southside Chicago and feel like he finna run shit. Nah, bro.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like out there. I don't care. You could be the hardest Crip blood essay all mixed together from out here. And you go to Southside and then you go to O Block, you finna get laid out.
Yeah. Like I said, it's all about respect. It's all about. Hey, so look, tell me this, Flexx. When you go to Vegas, right? And you go to Vegas, it's September 7th, that night in Vegas. Do you feel like there was anything that Tupac could have done differently than he did on that night? Or do you feel like it was basically his destiny?
I feel like he could have let the homies handle their own shit. I don't think they would have thought less of him. You know what I mean? I think if he would have been like, if he would have just stood back and let them handle their shit, I don't think they would have been like, nigga, why you ain't jumping? You know what I mean? I don't think that they would have just handled it. You know what I mean? He didn't have to do that.
He didn't have to do that, right? I feel the same way. I think he jumped the gun on that one, and that really didn't. But now this is my thing, and most people, some people side with me, some people disagree. I feel like, and I heard the interview recently that Suge did. Suge said that he asked for more security for Tupac, and the security wasn't sent. Before we even get into the situation with Orlando and anybody saying anything to Tupac about whatever's going on and so on and so forth, if you got the Jay-Z security, if you got the Kanye security, if you got the Master P security, right? You do not have that incident take place, period. They not allowing him to go and getting anything like that because number one, you feel like your job is in jeopardy if anything happens to this guy.
Right.
You feel me? So that's the thing that I look at the most. And so that's what that's the thing that I come up. I ain't got to say no names or nothing like that, but you know what I mean? That's just where I come from with it from that perspective. And I just feel like there was a lapse in security because it's just like at certain places you go and like, he was the biggest star in hip hop at that particular time.
Right.
It was crazy. The numbers, the astronomical numbers his records was doing, it was like, and when you think about Hit 'Em Up was a B-side single. And so from that perspective, that's how I always felt. But like I said, you're right. If he would have let them handle their own business and so on and so forth, I think it would have been a little bit different. But like I said, I still look at security and say, if he had the proper security around him and he was secure like he was supposed to, then that never even happens.
But the thing about security is they still gotta listen to their client. You know what I mean? So if Pac is like, man, fuck all that, I'm riding over here, or I ain't doing that, I'm doing, you know what I mean?
Right.
So
right.
That where he kind of throwing them off like, well, no, wait a minute, we got to get this together. You know what I mean?
Right. But look, but the factually that didn't take the only person that was with him was Frank.
Yeah, Frank.
And so and Frank didn't. And Frank, I think Frank, he didn't have no weapon or nothing like that. Based on what they all said, they was told not to carry weapons for whatever reason that they was told not to carry weapons, right? And so from that perspective, you're right, because he told Frank, according to Frank, you drive the cars with the outlaws in it. You know what I mean? I'm gonna ride with Suge. So I respect that part and doing what he. But like I said, once again, on any real protocol, any real security, when you're dealing with that, they're not gonna let that happen. Because number one, they're hired to do a job. I'm sorry, I can't do that. I'm sorry, I can't let you do that. You know what I mean? Now, if you want to fire me right now on the spot and tell me I can't, you know what I mean, be your security right then and there, Okay, that's what you do. But I have a job to do.
Well,
And so
that's what happened when your security is kind of your homies too. Yeah, I mean, but on the flip side, I mean, when Gene talked about the night Biggie got killed, he was trying to provide that type of security, and he said Puffy told him, "Get in the car, or you fired." You see what I'm saying? So
so look, hold on, right there. That part
you
right
know,
there, and that part right there. See what you just said, and that's what I'm talking about by Gene Deal trying to provide that. Like you said, when you walked up, he stepped right out. He was there, present, and not gonna let you get in the vicinity of Biggie
yeah,
from that perspective, doing his job. So that's what I'm talking about. But if you deal with, and Tupac wasn't the president, let's be clear. But if you're dealing with a private security firm, their number one priority and job is to keep you safe. And if you are understanding what that is and your worth, you're not going to deviate from what they're saying. You understand what I'm saying? It's just not going to happen. They're going to tell you like, look, hey, this is our security protocol. This is how we moving. This is where we moving. This is what we driving in. And until we get you safe and secure, later on when we're off from work, you can come back outside by yourself and do backflips in the parking lot if you feel like you want to do that.
yeah.
Yeah.
I feel you on that. I feel you on that, but you know, at the same time, it's like it was more so more than it was like a client with a private security, more than like the president moving with the Secret Service. It was more like Al Capone moving with his henchmen. You know what I mean? Like
Right,
it was
right, 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 right.
the reason they really did the private security slash thing was so that they couldn't get in trouble for the guns and all that type of shit. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I mean, and shout out to Reg. Reg ran right way, and I still talk to Reg, but at the same time, he wasn't there. So maybe it was something, lacking. Maybe if Reg was there, Reg might have said that, like, "Oh hell no, y'all not rolling like that." You know what I mean? But
My point exactly. And like I said, at the end of the day, but this is the cold part. So when we did you brung Reggie up, right? And like I said, me and him, we go back and forth at it, whatever, right? And just to keep it 100. And my thing is to be able to accept that responsibility. If you the head of security, that falls on you. It just does. You know what I mean? If you Flex, you got a job, you do something, you the supervisor's job, and your employees not doing what they supposed, it fall back on you.
all right,
That's just the way that it is. And so, I think that's the part that people have a really hard time understanding. My thing when I talk about it, it's nothing personal. It's just the facts. I
yeah,
didn't know. I didn't know. I didn't know that Tupac fired him. I didn't
right,
know that. I didn't know that. I didn't know that until recently, until I seen the letter that Yafafula, Yaki Gaddafi's mom, put out.
oh,
And
okay,
so I didn't know that. And so when I put two and two together, then I go back over it. That's why I come to the conclusion that I come to, and I understand what Suge said in that interview that he did. He said, "Yo, I asked Reggie to send 5 more security guards, and he didn't send anybody."
because
And I'm like, "Huh?"
he had already been fired, right?
Right? Yeah, he had been fired, but see, what Suge was talking about was Suge was saying basically, you work for me and
Uh,
you work for Death Row and Death Row security. As long as Tupac is under Death Row, he might not want you for his personal security, right, Flex?
oh, I
But
got you.
as far as when I say send somebody and send security, you send security because I pay you.
Right. I got you.
It's as simple as that. You know what I mean? So that's the thing that I think people don't really understand. They say, well, I had this, that, and the other on them, and so on and so forth. So that's my thing. So I always think that one thing, before the thing happened with Orlando, it's just not gonna happen like that. Security is not gonna let you. The security that Jay-Z got with him is not gonna let Jay-Z get into nothing crazy.
But let me tell you this. Let's say this though. The security that Jay Z got and all them got with him has learned from these situations.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Who's to say their situation back then was the same? But I think at the end of the day, uh, I think the way I just think a rapper, and I heard somebody say this uh last week that a rapper is one of the most world's dangerous jobs.
Yeah.
At this,
Especially if you come into LA, right? You know what I mean? And not only if you come into LA, but I'm saying it seemed like Pop Smoke, the boy R, the P&B Rock, you know what I mean, and so on and so forth. But like I say, once again, as well as you think that they have learned, it's a lot of them that haven't learned.
right? Because LA is disarming, bro. Like, so they on point at the crib. They on
Right.
point. Let a motherfucker try to rob Pop Smoke in New York and see what happens.
Right.
You know what I mean? Let the nigga try to step to Biggie in New York, the king in New York.
Right.
You know, like and see what happens. You know what I mean? But out here, a nigga let his guard down because it's like going to the Bahamas or some shit. You know what I mean? It's like, it's some killers in the Bahamas. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah,
Okay,
true.
The Atlantis nigga and go back up in the hood where we used to go buy weed.
Right.
You know, whole different Bahamas. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's kind of the same thing out here, man. I think fools just get disarmed. But I was lucky to have cousins that was from out here that made sure that I kept on the swivel. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
And plus, you know what I mean? Plus, I wasn't doing no type of aggressive activity. You know what I mean?
You wasn't trying to front or trying to associate yourself with something that you really had nothing to do with. You always was who you were. Yeah, and I think that. So no, it's like I said once again. I always think about that, but like I say, I feel like at the end of the day, everything that was supposed to happen, it actually happened.
Right.
You know what I mean? But when you think about everybody that if everybody plays, it's like anything, everybody playing their part. If you got a part to play, that's what makes a great team. You know what I mean? That's what made you a great team with Dr. Dre. Dr. Dre did the music. He brung you in to do the writing. He had the engineer in there where he was engineering too. And when you came up and when that song was done, right, everybody did their part, and therefore you have a masterpiece.
That's how every masterpiece comes together.
Yeah, and so like I said, man, look, but more importantly, I thank you, man, for your time. I thank you for your honesty and you being candid. So yeah, Flexx, you've been doing some music lately. I heard you've been doing some stuff on the BMF as well as Raising Canaan TV shows. You'll talk about that.
Yes, sir. Shout out to my nigga Butter. You know what I mean? Hooked me up with it, bro. I was just like, I got at him. My nigga Bug was like, man, you ain't talked to Bud in a while. So I hit him up and like, Bud, let me wiggle with you, man. Like, he was like, man, he's like, that'll work. He was like, because these niggas need quick turnarounds. I'm like, quick turnaround. I have it back. Send it to me today. I have it back to you tonight. You know what I mean? And so, we've been working with that, and we just kept working and submitting songs, man. And they liked about 5 of them for the season 1 of BMF. I know one of them they used in the commercial, like when he go to the dude to cop the 5 keys.
Okay.
Hey, let me get five of them, and I want it all up, and I'm paying it all up front. Remember that?
Right, absolutely. Yeah, I actually binge watched that.
Yeah, so that's one of our songs that made it. That was actually on the commercial. So, and then we just got one that was in Raising Canaan, and we submitting for season 2. So shout out to Bud because he didn't have to put me down like that, and he put me down, bro. So
yeah, shout out to Butter once again. Hey, but like for the people who don't know, because there's a lot of people that don't know, tell them a little bit about Butter and some of the work and songs that he did. He worked with Ice Cube. He did a bunch of stuff, right?
Butter's my nigga. He came through Pittsburgh. He was one of Steve's homies from back in Pittsburgh, and he came out here, and he just had them fire beats, bro. And I was like, bro, we gotta let Dre hear this nigga. This nigga hard. You know what I mean? But he just stayed down and grinded, man. And he wound up getting. I think the first one he got was Bow Down. So Bow Down.
That Ice Cube Bow Down.
West Side Connection. That was Bud. And so then I think he did a bunch of shit, man. Ghetto Vet. He did the Gangster, the Killer, and the Dope Dealer. He did shit on Aaliyah's album, like a bunch of stuff, man. So and he also bought Mailman out here. So
Right,
Mailman,
Mailman from Pittsburgh too, right?
Mailman from Pittsburgh too. So I call him my Pittsburgh connection because it's him, Sam Snead, Mailman. You know what I mean? They had Noel out here. It was about 5 of them. That was just repping for Pittsburgh. So
Yeah, I remember that. That was crazy because when I came out to, but then when I first came down to record one, when y'all was down record one, right? And I remember when I met Stocks, you, and then we went out to the apartment out in the valley, and I seen how y'all working, like they had the drum machines and everybody working and trying to get stuff together to go take it to the studio, let Dre hear it. You know what I mean? And yeah, it was interesting, man. So like I say, shout out to Butter, shout out to Sharif, shout out to Stocks. Shout out to all of those guys, man, who definitely help create a sound, and help, and shout out to you, like I said, with the hit records that you got. So let me tell the people one more time, because that might not know. They listen to this interview. What records you worked on? What hits, should I say, you wrote or responsible for co-writing for Dr. Dre and various other people? Go ahead.
Yeah. Natural Born Killers, California Love, Keep Their Heads Ringing. Been there, done that. I wrote like 3 or 4 songs on Warren G's I Want It All album. I wrote for Shaquille O'Neal.
Shout out to Shaq right now. Yeah. What did you write on Shaq album?
He had one called Black Superman.
Oh, okay. That's you?
Yeah, it sound like that Hutch song.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, okay. Wow. What else? Anything else?
That's about most of the ones that came out that I wrote for other people. I've been writing for Warren. We trying to do something right now, so I'm trying to get back out there with Warren. So
yeah, shout out to Warren G, East Side, Long Beach. Yeah, and the whole crew.
So we've been kicking shit back and forth. So shout out to Warren. Warren always stayed down with me. He never changed up. He a solid dude. You know what I mean? So, yeah, man. So I'm still out here. I'm still doing my thing. Of course, it's different because I'm older now. So it's the focus ain't so much on being a star or no shit like that. It's just about getting my bread, finding my pocket and wiggling right there. So yeah, man. LA's been good to me, man. Been out here since 1994, since that day at the stoplight. I ain't left.
And you ain't left ever since.
Ever since.
Yeah. But like I said, yo, I want to thank J Flexx, multi-platinum songwriter, producer, artist, for coming through. Straight game.